Hey, what is up, guys? Chase here with my buddy Alan Strk, writer for MMAsucka.com, TGI Sports, good friend of mine on Twitter and used to be the forums. But we're good friends, and we're here to talk about MMA recap. We're not recapping MMA. We're going to preview the upcoming 4th of July card. UFC 162 main event is Silva versus Weidman. Alan, how excited are you for this card? Are you really excited for this card, or are you kind of just like, this will be a good card to watch with a beer in my hand and maybe with a couple of guys at a bar?
I wouldn't say really, but I think this is better than 148. I honestly wasn't really that excited for the whole Sun and Silva thing because I thought it was going to be really one-sided, and I thought the card was kind of dull last year. I think this card this year is kind of better.
Yeah, you know, the 4th of July card always brings up a big fight, and they always want to bring a big name. In 2008, UFC 100, it was Lesnar versus Mir, and also GSP versus Thiago. I forgot the one after that, to 2009 one, but all I know is that 4th of July always, I think it was Lesnar-Carwin for 2009, wasn't it? Like, Lesnar and Carwin fought that year. So
I'll look it up quickly, but
I remember 2009 was Lesnar-Carwin. 2010,
you're right.
2010, I'm not 100% sure. I want to say it featured something with the heavyweights.
2010 was less than Carwin.
Wait, what was 2009 then? 2009 had to be a big fight.
Oh, well.
Because I know 11 was, what was, god damn, I'm forgetting my UFCs. There's been so many.
No, 2009 was Lesnar Mir.
Lesnar, oh yeah, I forgot the UFC game came out in 2009. I always get my MMA years mixed up because I always think, because Lesnar debuted in 2008. That's where I always get mixed up. I always think that he debuted at the end of 2007 and then he started his run in 2008. Okay, so got my years mixed up a little bit, but they always deliver. And on this card we have Lieben versus Andrew Craig in the preliminaries. Do you think Chris Lieben should just be on the main card just because he's known for putting on good fights, and he's a guy that literally, to be honest, that most fans can find recognizable? He's someone that's very recognizable for the UFC. Do you think he should have been put on the main card?
Well, the thing is, they put him on the main card at UFC 155, and he completely gassed out by the second round against Derek Brunson. So I think they gave him that chance. Now they want him to work his way up. So I don't really have a problem with it.
Yeah, original fight that used to be on this card, I believe it was Chun John, and he was supposed to face Ricardo Lamas, right? He was supposed to face Ricardo Lamas for the featherweight #1 contendership, but then afterwards, Anthony Pettis got injured, and so Chun John went on to face off against Jose Aldo, pretty much. So we lost that fight. And were you excited for the Lamas and Chun John fight? Because I was pretty excited for that fight. I thought that was a good fight as a co-main event.
That was my pick for fight of the night. I think that fight was going to be fireworks. It was going to be pretty awesome. And I'm pretty let down by that because I know Lamas, he was pretty much an underdog against Eric Coach. A lot of people weren't picking him, and he absolutely destroyed him. So I wanted to see Ricardo Lamas, what he could do against Korean Zombies. So
yeah,
but whatever.
Yeah, and now we're forced with Frankie Edgar in our co-main event scene. Oh God! But first fight of the night, we got featherweight Cub Swanson. You know, he's working his way up the featherweight ladder, and he's taking off against Dennis Seaver. If Swanson wins this fight, would you say that he should go on to fight Lamas for a shot at whoever wins, or do you think Pettis would have the ability to skip over whoever wins a Lamas and Swanson fight?
I think Pettis should still stay at 145, but everything's in flux right now. I hear he wants to go to 155 now fight, but they're not going to change Henderson Grant. They're going to stay with it. So I think the whole division rides on Pettis' decision, but I like to see Swanson and Lamas go at it. I think it'd be a good fight. What I don't understand is, looking at the booking wise, is why isn't Cub Swanson fighting Edgar? Because haven't we forgotten that Cub Swanson knocked out Charles Oliveira last December?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is what the UFC's trying to do. Is trying to keep Swanson and Edgar kind of away from each other type of deal. Like, they don't really want them to fight just now because they know that they could like, if Edgar somehow wins the featherweight title, and he most likely will when Jose Aldo steps down from the featherweight crown and he moves up to the lightweight division, because there's talks that he might move up to that division pretty soon. So I think, like, you got to keep away certain fights, and I feel they also want Frankie Edgar to get a win under his belt on this card, because he's still a marketable guy. As much as you whether like him or hate him, he's still a guy that, like, a lot of casual fans, they'll tune in to see, because, like, he had an epic bout with Gray Maynard and Benson Henderson and BJ Penn. Like, those are fights where people are like, man, this guy really made me into a believer. Like, and he's so small, and it's just like, he's like a Rocky. He's like a version of Rocky. And I always have friends that talk to me about UFC, I believe it was 125, with Maynard and Edgar #2, when Maynard was hitting Edgar, and Edgar was just getting his ass fucking kicked in the full first round. Everyone was like, oh my god, how the fuck is he surviving? Like, I have friends today that still talk about, like, that was one of the most coolest scenes I've ever seen, and he still fought back and he won. That was awesome. Well, didn't win, draw, but pretty much he fought back through that situation. So, Swanson, I think he should win this fight, but Seaver's one of those guys, he's kind of dangerous because you may think, okay, it's just Dennis Seaver, but being just Dennis Seaver could be deceiving, and he could actually come up with a huge win, especially he's a solid wrestler. He might be able to just lay and prey on Swanson. You know, he's a guy that could be a trap fight for Cub Swanson. I feel like this might be a trap fight if Swanson doesn't finish it really quickly. I feel Swanson needs to get it done in the second round, not play with Seaver for 3 full rounds.
The thing with Seaver is he rarely gets finished. He's gritty as hell, man. Like, he doesn't go away. I do think Swanson's going to win, but I think it's going to be a 3-round war. Like, this is probably my pick for fight of the night now. You know, so these guys fight at a high pace.
All right. And a fight that really I could give 2 craps less about, Mark Munoz, who Chris Weidman should thank, because without his dumbass, he would never be in this situation. Mark Munoz is taking on Tim Boesch. And in all honesty, I see Tim Boesch winning this fight. I feel Boesch is an overall better fighter than Munoz. Munoz is going through he's been going through a lot ever since that Weidman loss, and I don't know. Like, I always felt Munoz was just always kind of one-dimensional type of fighter. Like, he's kind of like GSP, but without the skills of GSP. He just has like good wrestling, and that's about it to Munoz's game. I feel Boesch is a more complete fighter. Like, none of these guys touch Anderson Silva's level, but they're pretty good fighters. Like, if Anderson Silva wasn't around, these guys would be fighting for their #1 contendership opportunity.
Well, you ever heard about the whole Mark Munoz story? How he went through this dramatic weight cut, like he got crazy obese, like he I think went up to 260 because he couldn't train, and like he cut down to 199 in a matter of like 5 months. So he's like this big story around him right now. So. I don't know. Like, I always thought he was overrated. I think, especially if you see him like on analyst role, like he talks himself up really highly, and when he got knocked out by Weidman, I was kind of like chuckling. I was like, yeah, whatever. But I don't know. This is a weird fight because they're kind of similar in a way. But I feel like Tim Boesch, if he keeps his fight stamp, he's gonna knock out Munoz.
That's what I'm thinking too. Munoz can't be fucking thinking I'm gonna trade blows with this fucker, because Boesch is just so deadly with those hands. Like, he has strong hands, and he will knock you out. Like, you can't just fuck her. Like, okay, this is not Anderson Silva, who can show up out of shape and take tough shots. This is Mark Munoz. His chin is weak. He doesn't have a strong-ass chin. I mean, in all honesty, I know a lot of people go, well, didn't he fight Weidman one time? And people were like, this showed, like, the test of strength that Munoz has. It's like, well, Weidman, not Weidman, Lieben. He fought Lieben one time on a free show, I believe. And, like, he was getting his ass kicked for most of the fight, but was taking down Lieben, and people said that this shows the toughness of Munoz. And I was saying to myself, well, Lieben just throws punches, and he's gassed out. And if you ever box or do anything, the more punches you miss, the more tired you get. That's why Chris Lieben always gets tired in fights. People don't understand that. But Munoz, I don't really give him a shot. Maybe he can win. That's interesting. I never heard that he went all Tim Sylvia on us. I didn't know he went Tim Sylvia and got fat. So
yeah. Because he couldn't train for a few months. That was his issue, because Weidman totally destroyed him. But when I think of Tim Boesch, man, I think of that knockout on Okami, man.
Yeah.
To the ground. Like, what?
Yeah, and Okami's not like a weak dude. That dude is tough as nails.
Yeah, so. The reason I like this fight because it's so even. Because you look at the last 2 fights in card, it's kind of predictable. I like how this fight's kind of close. I don't know if it's favoring yet. Because you think about Tim Boesch, he does tire out of it, and Munoz could grind out, but I want to see this card. I want to see a new Mark Munoz, man, because everyone's saying, man, that he's like rejuvenated. So I don't know. This is a judgment day, I guess.
It is interesting. I haven't heard that story yet. All right, so we move on forward to the Strikeforce 62 main event, and yes, this would have main event in Strikeforce 62 if there ever was one. Tim Kennedy versus Roger Gracie. Oh God.
Tim Kennedy, man. I You know what's funny with Tim Kenny? Because he just recently complained about the fighter pay. I heard he got paid 80,000 the last time he fought Strikeforce, and yet he's complaining about pay already.
Yeah.
Like what?
And not to mention, he didn't win his fight the last time he fought in Strikeforce. Wait, was his last fight against Luke Rockhold, right? Or did he fight some random
No,
person?
he beat No, I know he beat someone on. No, he beat Trevor Smith.
Well, Tim Kennedy, if you didn't act like a pussy in the third fucking round in the Luke Rockhold fight, you wouldn't be complaining about your fucking pay. So shut the fuck up. Okay, I know a lot of people will get upset because he served our country, and I give him props. He served our country, cool. But the thing is, I always find Tim Kennedy all talk, no game. This guy talks. I'm a guy that's grit. I'm always going to fight. And when I was watching that fifth round against Luke Rockhold, motherfucker did not try whatsoever. The dude just gave up because Rockhold is a superior, better fighter than Tim Kennedy. And yes, I know Vitor Belfort knocked out Luke Rockhold, but he's still a guy to watch out for in that middleweight division. I don't understand this Roger Gracie. Like, if Roger Gracie wins, it's not like he's ever going to fight Anderson, ever. So, I'm not really interested in this fight. If I had to choose someone, I would think probably Gracie might win this fight, but Kennedy is someone that does have a good takedown and submission defense. So I would probably say maybe Kennedy can grind it out for 3 rounds.
Yeah,
But
that's all I'm thinking. I'm thinking Kenny could probably do that, but I know he's got. I don't know. He's got to be more aggressive, like we say. Like sometimes he just takes it easy, and you can't take it easy against a submission specialist like Gracie.
yeah, because like I noticed with Tim Kennedy is like when he knows he's losing a fight, he just gives up. He doesn't like try to go for the win, and that to me does not scream heart of a champion. It's just like I don't know. I just feel that it's just this fight would main event Strikeforce 62. Everyone would love it. Moreo and all the Showtime people would be like, "Oh, this is the greatest fight in Strikeforce history," like they always do after every Strikeforce show. But this would have main evented a Strikeforce, and I'm glad for the Strikeforce guys. I like when they come in. Like they haven't been successful. You wrote an article about that. Like, well, you wrote an article of successful guys from Strikeforce to the UFC, but we all know Strikeforce guys are not like the WEC guys. The WEC guys have been successful since coming to the UFC.
I say we give him some time, but like other than like say, Cormier, Thompson, who knows, man? I think Gilbert Melendez could come back. I know
Gilbert will come back. Gilbert will come back, and I talked to Gilbert actually. I asked him about that Benson Henderson fight. I said, "Did you really think you won that fight?" And he told me, "Yes, I did." And he explained to me why. And I remember he showed me some footage with the tape that they made. And in all honesty, and I know this may sound biased because I do know the team that he trains with, Team Gracie Jitsu. I do know, Team Alpha Male. Maybe I am a little biased towards maybe those teams because I get to talk to them and they're cool with me. But when I was watching that tape, I could see why Gilbert was a little bit upset and why he made the claim that he beat Benson. It was a really close-ass fight between Benson and Gilbert. Benson has been in a lot of close fights as lightweight champion.
A lot of people say Gilbert, like even fighters and analysts were saying one he shouldn't feel feel upset because I thought I gave the Benson again, but when you think about it, like looking back at that fight, he always talks about the fifth round, he talks about the first 2 rounds, and I don't know, judging's so controversial. I wrote something about how judging sometimes can be skewed. I think sometimes what Benson's issue is he doesn't push the pace. He kind of goes at first of all, his hair was ridiculous in that fight. Holy, this guy literally trying to throw a jab and he pushed his hair out of the way at the same time. But I still put Gilbert right up there in the lightweight.
Oh yeah, no, he's no one to mess with. Just this one loss, I think he's going to come back hungrier, and better than before because he's one of my favorite fighters, Gilbert Melendez. I've always loved El Nino. He's someone that I really felt deserved, the lightweight championship fight. And he was someone that the UFC has been wanting to get. He's very talented. He's very excited. He's one of those guys that make you want to buy a pay-per-view. Like, it's like when you read the card, you're like, Gilbert Melendez is fighting? I'm buying this pay-per-view because he's just one of those guys.
I think he's fighting Diego Sanchez next. I think that might be on
is that
JDS Cain Velasquez 3 card. I heard. I heard he wants to fight in October, so that could be a good card.
That will be. If that's at the Staples Center, I'm fucking going to that one just to see JDS and Cain 3 and be like, yay! But Diego. If Diego comes back like the Diego Sanchez that fought Clay Guida, I'll be fucking psyched for that fight.
Mm-hmm.
If we get the nightmare Diego Sanchez, not the dream Diego Sanchez, like get your shit together, Diego. What is this? The
The
dream?
yes man, dude.
The originator of the yes cartwheels.
Yes, God. Yeah, that fight just interesting because both guys are so aggressive. But I don't know that when Diego fought Takanori Gomi, he looked pretty bad.
Yeah, he looked fat.
He missed weight, so who knows?
Yeah, so yeah. We will wait and see, but that got me really excited when you told me that. I maybe I have to make a drive up to San Jose and talk and ask them more about that. Pick their brains a little bit. I didn't talk to your favorite though, Jake Shields. He was kind of a little bit upset with himself that the day when I went.
God, dude. I think everybody like the thing with like MMA in general is we respect all these guys.
Yeah, we respect them.
All they're trained, but there's just some guys you got disliking. Ooh, man. Wait, by the way, did you watch that Shields? Woodley
Oh yeah,
fight?
I watched it because I love Tyron Woodley and Jake Shields, so I thought it would be a good fight.
Oh man.
You warned me not to watch it. I think like 2 times I went to go take a piss, and then I just and it was on, and I turned around and I turned on TV to watch something. I don't think
Still holding against the cage. Take a piss. Still holding against the cage.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, I heard like the post-fight interview, he wants a top 5 guy next. I'm like, dude, go to Bellator, man.
Go to Bellator. Fight. John Fitch is not. Oh, did you hear about John Fitch that he lost that one fight and Dana White thought he was gonna win, and then that one guy won, and Dana White and everyone's like, oh, should you sign that guy? And Dana White's like, I don't know, maybe.
John Berkman, yeah. Well, the big story of that, if you watched it, Steve Mazzagatti wants to improve how awful he is as a ref.
Yeah.
Berkman, he had a guillotine locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And, it looks sloppy, and Fitch is not moving. This guy, Josh Berkman, he gets up and celebrates before anything happens. Mazzagatti just looks at him and stops the fight. So this guy's celebrating before the fight's even over. And then Mazzagatti's like, all right, it's over. Fitch is just on the ground passed out. Dude, you got used to it, man. It's almost ridiculous.
Oh my God, Mazzagatti. And I think Dana also. I think I heard that story from Dana, and then Dana's like, watch them fucking put them in the Silva and Weidman main event. Fuck me over there. And make us look like a bad fucking company. Like I remember that, but we go on to the co-main event. Former UFC lightweight champion Frankie the Answer Edgar takes on very interesting prospect. Well, not really anymore. Charles Oliveira. I don't care how I pronounce his name. Sorry, Charles. You seem like you're a good guy on Twitter, but other than that, nothing really else. But really, to be honest, I say to this fight, it's a fight to give Frankie an easy win. If Frankie loses this fight, this is where Frankie Edgar's career is going down to the downward spiral. I mean, this is like the first fight in like 2 years this guy is not going for a title or just fighting in a championship fight in general.
Or, yeah, not that, but I think, one, not being an underdog, people are saying, oh, Frankie's been kind of underdog recently. This is like the first fight that forever that he's like really favored.
Yeah, this is like the first favorite fight, actually. Yeah, because he was an underdog both times he fought Gray Maynard for the title. Because, like, and Gray Maynard is a good fighter. I mean, Maynard is not a terrible fighter whatsoever. It's just that the first fight, Maynard kind of fucked himself over by punching out way too early in round 1. And then in round 3, he fucked up really bad against Frankie in that round 3. And then,
what about the BJ Penn ones? I forgot about those. Is he favored in those?
No, he was not. He wasn't favored the first time. The first time was very controversial. The second time, for some reason, BJ Penn decided to be the fat BJ Penn and not really want to fight. Like, BJ Penn was still heavily favored. Like, he was favored. I remember I put money down on Frankie both fights, and I won money from that. So, Frankie Edgar, you're only good for betting purposes. But
I remember that fight, man, because I remember on the same card, it was freaking Randy Couture versus James Toney.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah, but this is a crazy stuff. Frankie, this is the first 3-round fight Edgar's fighting since December 5th, 2009. He fought Matt Beach.
Yeah. It's been a while since Edgar has been in, this type of competition. And now, are we going to see a motivated Frankie? Are we going to see Frankie try to finish this fight, or do you think he's going to grind it out for 3 rounds?
Oh, no, I think he's going to be as motivated as ever because, he's not going to get cut if he loses because,
he's freaking fucking Edgar.
But
he's
he
the new
really
Dan
needs
Hardy.
this win if he wants to do anything in this featherweight division. Otherwise, he's going to be fighting, I don't know, Clay Guida next or whoever got downhill. Is he? I think he's gonna have to watch out for on the ground because Oliveira, the guy has some 6 submissions. He's
Yeah,
won three submissions at nights, which is pretty damn impressive.
yeah. Oliveira is a good fighter. It's just that like he can't fight someone with complete overall skills, and I feel Frankie's one of those guys that is a complete overall type of fighter. He just fought one of the greatest fighters we've seen in the last like 10 years in Jose Aldo. That's why he lost his last fight. I mean, Jose Aldo's a once in a lifetime type of fighter. While Frankie Edgar, he's like a guy that works hard every single day. Jose Aldo's like those freakish athletes. I mean, the dude's going to become one of the best fighters of all time. Like when it's all said and done with Jose Aldo. While Frankie Edgar, we're going to know that he's going to be in the UFC Hall of Fame and in the near future, of course. But speaking of the UFC Hall of Fame, you heard who's going in, right?
Forrest and Bonner.
Yeah, and what do you think about that? I agree because without those two guys, there would be no way the UFC would be where it's at today. That fight, where I know a lot of people have different opinions on it. A lot of people say, well, it was fucking sloppy, it was fucking terrible, and all that other stuff. And some people say it was the greatest fight ever. But that fight, you got to understand, this was on a Thursday fucking night, okay? This was on a Thursday night, the Ultimate Fighter Season 1, on Spike TV out of all the fucking channels in the world. Thursday night, there was a lot of fucking shows going on. I remember, I think American Idol was going on. There was a lot of other good shows going on at that time, at that fucking time. People were changing channels, calling people up saying, you gotta see this shit. These two are killing each other for a UFC contract. And everyone ultimately went to it, and it was the greatest show ever. And then not only that, the UFC also benefited from it because this is what created Rich Franklin's career, because after that fight, it was Ken Shamrock versus Rich Franklin. No one changed their channels. They were like, oh, we gotta stay for this shit. Ken Shamrock, I heard about this fucker, whether it was from the WWF or from the early UFCs. This guy's a fucking legend in the sport. Ken Shamrock's a legend in the sport, whether Dana White will rip him or not. He's a legend. And so it's like, this is what literally created the groundwork for the UFC, because this is ultimately what made people bought Evan Turner versus Rich Franklin 2. And Rich Franklin, the guy that they just witnessed beat one of the living legends in the sport, he becomes a middleweight champion. And that right there is like, I feel both men are deserving, even though didn't Bonner test positive for something? He tested positive for
multiple times he did, but like you said, that fight put it really on the map. And not all Hall of Famers could be as legitimate. Like some people, the whole definition of Hall of Fame is kind of misconcepted because you look at the NFL and NBA, they put up the real elite guys. Some guys just aren't elite, man. Bonner, you look at his career, he's not really won a title, but the guy really helped in making UFC as big as it is today. And, Forrest has done so much for his sport. That's an obvious one. I think one big debate is whether Brock gets in. And I think Brock does deserve to get in.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, because the thing about Bonner that I defend is that you got to think about how many fight of the nights this guy has, how entertaining every time when you saw Stephan Bonner's name, it's like Gilbert Melendez. You wanted to see Stephan Bonner fight because you knew the dude was going to come to fight. Yeah, in these recent years, he hasn't been that entertaining, but that's because of how big MMA has become. But back in the day, Bonner was a must-see type of dude. So it's like, I give Bonner credit. Like, he's like a guy that was like, if you watched UFC back then, you knew what Stephan Bonner was all about. And I agree, Brock Lesnar should be in the Hall of Fame because he's the biggest draw that the UFC has ever had. Every pay-per-view he's been on has hit the 800,000 plus. He's sold 2 or 3, I believe, 1 million PPV buy rates. That is an amazing accomplishment to sell 2 1 million pay-per-view buy rates. Sure, one of them was UFC 100. Okay, we can let that slide because that was a big deal because everyone's like, oh, I got to check out UFC 100 because it's their 100th show and I didn't think they would ever make it to this point. But when you're selling a fight with Shane Carwin and the undercard, let's face it, that undercard was not really that impressive on paper, but it ended up being one of the best undercards in forever. Lesnar deserves credit. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He was a great help putting the UFC on the map.
Yeah, and I think also they promoted that really well because you have Corwin, the undefeated guy, and the main card was not good, but just in general, the way they built that was pretty good. And Carl was never a good trash talker, but this is big because remember Brock was coming back from I wouldn't call it an injury, but a disease, right?
Yeah, tuberculosis. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's pretty much okay, if you guys don't know Brock Lesnar's life, people think like Lesnar may be some douchebag that owns a rich mansion. No, the dude lives like in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota. He doesn't have a TV. He only has a TV on when he's watching the hunting channel, and he hunts deer and he makes that for a living. Like pretty much, if you do that lifestyle, make sure you're eating some vegetables because if you ain't eating your vegetables, you might get that disease. Like he was just eating raw meat. Apparently, that's how he got the disease.
Jesus.
He's a good old country boy. He ain't like someone that's like really like into the glitz and glamour of things. He just likes to do shit because he can, because he knows he can, and he loves doing it. He likes to challenge himself. Like I know a lot of people perceive Brock Lesnar as some major douchebag, but that's not who he is. He's a guy. He's a simple guy that has great athletic ability, great athletic gifts, and he just wants to have fun doing stuff. He doesn't want to be a boring doing nothing. He's just one of those guys that is very, very active, and I respect Brock Lesnar for that.
Yeah, he just hates the media. Some people just aren't media friendly. There are guys out there. Look at Nick Diaz.
Nick Diaz hates the media. I wanted to ask Nick when I went down. I wanted to ask him like if the IRS came after him, but he wasn't around at the time because remember he didn't pay his taxes. Apparently, he's like I don't pay taxes.
I heard about this. He did his whole promotion. I watched this MMAfight.com. I put together like a 20-minute video of like behind the scenes of his promotion, and like it was like 2 minutes of Nick just telling people like, "Oh, thanks for coming." It's like this is like this one white skinny guy, old guy. He was just telling people how, "Oh, Nick doesn't want to have the attention. He wants the fighters to have attention." I'm just like, dude, you do realize not many people know who the hell these guys are. They did the weigh-ins at Buffalo Wild Wings, and Nick wasn't there. I'm like, how are you trying to get people excited if Nick's not here?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just getting a bunch of nobodies, and you're not hyping it up. And I understand Nick wants to give the fans attention, but there's nobody on that card that people can really. So I don't know. It was interesting though. I don't know. I hope we see Nick Diaz one day back fighting. I don't get these whole fake Brett Favre retirements.
Yeah, he's just kind of it. I think he's in a hard place right now, but interesting mode. Have you had anyone like just that that's a casual MMA fan, doesn't really watch MMA all too much, but that they are an MMA fan and they've called you being like, dude, I think Chris Weidman has a shot. I heard GSP and Rashad saying that this guy can beat Anderson Silva. Have you had anyone call you about that? Or talk to you about that? Like talk about that. That's a casual MMA fan.
I've had two, but like. The thing is, immediately they say that, like, some people are like, yo, he's from Long Island, man. Because for those that don't know, I live in New York, and I'm pretty close to where Weidman is. But, yeah, people are like, yeah, Weidman's that sharp. Immediately I ask them, how many fights have you watched with Weidman? And they say, and they're like, and then they tell me about the whole Munoz thing. I'm like, what about his fight against Sakara or his fight against Maya, which is probably the worst fight I ever watched.
Oh, God, Maya versus... I'm trying to forget about that fight. Still am.
That whole card was bad. I remember it was Chael against Bisping.
Chael Bisping was a good fight. It's just that.
Oh, you liked it, really?
The wrong guy won. It was a good fight. I liked it. They went out there. They just did it. It was a fight where you could fuck around with your friends, drink some beers, and that's what I took it as. I was like, I can drink some beers to this.
Yeah, I just think maybe because that it was big implications, man. Because Sutton needed that win to get a title shot. I think Bisping, if he would have won, he might have gotten a title shot. So
yeah,
I think they're playing it safe a little bit. But as for Weidman, I think one thing everyone keeps repeating is that he should have fought at least one more time. He should have fought someone like Vitor. He should have fought someone like Okami, and try to make yourself look more legit. Or for fans or even analysts to have more confidence with you. But, dude, I'm pretty blown away by how many fighters are taking him, man. And these aren't just wrestlers. I see guys like TJ Grant, Frank Mir favoring Weidman. I think people are underestimating Anderson's take on the fence. One thing about MMA fans is they judge a guy off one fight. And basically, these people that are saying Anderson's take on the fence bet is just judging him off that one, the fight against Chael.
Yeah. I don't know if you watched Like Water, the Anderson Silva film, but in that film, they show in the training that he broke his ribs before the Chael Sonnet. He broke his ribs during the training. Like, you see it, you hear it crack and everything. It's disgusting. I was like, oh, shit. I thought he was making that shit up, but because, sometimes fighters make shit up. So, like, Tito Ortiz is the biggest one. Like, oh, my back. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to give you a good fight, but my back was just hurting. Tito Ortiz is a big, you know, a big accuser of it, but it's still,
Hey, he's from your neck of the woods.
yeah, Huntington Beach, California, the Huntington Beach bad boy, or the people's champ. I love Tito. Tito's a good guy, but I've never talked to him. I think I've met him once when I was a little kid, and he signed my baseball cap, and I don't remember where that baseball cap is, sadly. My dad talked to Tito and stuff like that. The funniest thing is if you ever come to California and you're ever driving, if you see Chuck Liddell just walking around with a brown bag, it's the funniest shit ever. You just honk the horn, you go Liddell, and you'd be like, yeah! And then he'll just go back to drinking his beer. It's the funniest shit ever. And people may think I'm making this up. No, just driving to San Luis Obispo area, guarantee you'll see Liddell just fucking being a drunk. It's the greatest thing ever.
Dude, he seems like the happiest guy in the world.
Oh yeah, no, Liddell, all he does is party and shit. He just likes to have fun. He's not married. He doesn't have kids. He just wants to have fun. Mm-hmm. And hell, I mean, he's one of the most popular dudes in like UFC history. Like everyone knows who the Iceman Chuck Liddell is. Like that, like even though he's not one of the greatest, I wouldn't say he's one of the greatest fighters of all time. He's definitely one of the top 10 biggest draws for the UFC, and he's definitely like a top 15 greatest fighter of all time. But when you say like top 5, I don't put Liddell in that category of top 5 greatest of all time. But he's definitely like one of the biggest draws the UFC ever had. But
I think he earned his legacy a little bit by getting knocked out too much,
Yeah, that too. Like I remember, I loved when Rich Franklin knocked him out. I'm like, Rich Franklin knocked him out, because I'm a huge Franklin mark. But Silva versus Weidman, this fight either is going to be the Damian Maia fight versus Anderson Silva, where Damian Maia, I don't know if you remember, Maia was getting hyped up. They said, Maia's the only dude that can beat Silva. His submissions are crazy. He's the only one that can beat Silva, and Silva ended up dancing.
I hope that doesn't happen, man. That was pretty painful to watch Anderson, dancing around. I think he's kind of fired up from hearing all this. I think he respects George a lot. Like, when do you ever see Anderson Silva show up live to a UFC event? Like, he was live at the GSP Condit fight. So I think he absolutely had to hear GSP's comments. I think he's going to be really fired up for this.
Yeah, I think that Anderson is excited to do this fight. It's either going to be, Anderson Silva Maia-like, or it's going to be Anderson Silva Forrest-like, where Silva just tools Forrest the whole fight. Or it's going to be GSP Serra-like, because Weidman could pull off the upset. And I understand Weidman is a talented fighter. I'm not saying Weidman's bad. I'm not saying Weidman's terrible. He's a talented fighter. He might be, like Jose Aldo, a guy who's a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. And I do love how Weidman said that, hey, I'll give Anderson the immediate rematch. I'll do it when we open up on Madison Square Garden, bring him in my neck of the woods. Yeah, I like the swagger Weidman's bringing. It's not like Chael Sonnen where he's just rambling about some BS about Nogueira feeding a bus a banana. It's like he's just showing some swagger. Like he's just saying like, I can do this. And I appreciate that. He's trying to promote the fight. But the thing is, it's like when I see Anderson Silva take a fight in like 3 weeks notice, he shows up clearly fat as fuck. Like Silva was fat against Bonner. He was fat against Bonner. And he literally told the shit out of one of the toughest SOBs in MMA history. He literally just let Bonner tee off at him at one point in the fight. And I remember when his corner's like, Anderson pushed up, and he just looks at his corner, he's like, take it easy, I got this. And then afterwards, when you knew he was done tooling him, and it was the first round because he just wanted to get out of there because he knew he was out of shape, he just went off on him. And that's the thing about Silva. He will tool with you. He will play with you. Like a lot of people don't understand. The first round of this fight, expect nothing to happen. Expect the usual, this fight's boring type of shit. But then in the second round, fists will fly. Because Silva Light is a counter puncher, counter setup type of guy. He wants to see what your movements are, what you're going to do against him first. And if Weidman shows off all his tricks in the first round, Silva's going to strike in the first round. If Weidman doesn't, that's what's going to happen. Like, I think even Silva might let Weidman take him down, like, in the first round just for fun, to see if Weidman will actually finish him. Because that's what he did. That's what Mike Goldberg, he was talking about this. He's like, I still think in my head that Silva lets Chael take him down in the first round to see if he could actually finish him. So I think Silva will play mind games. Like, that's a great thing about Silva. He plays mind games with his opponents. He's not just like kicking this opponent's ass. He's playing mind games. And I don't know. I just think that this fight is like really one-sided. Like, if you guys are betting people, go ahead, bet on Weidman, have some fun, and laugh your fucking ass off to the bank when Weidman pulls off an upset. But I'm not giving Weidman any chance against Anderson Silva. I don't think he's ready enough. I think in the near future he'll definitely be a middleweight champion. But I feel this is going to be, the learning lesson for Chris Weidman. I feel like this is the fight where he will lose because he's very young, and this will be the fight where we're going to say, hey, he learned from this fight. This was the fight that elevated him to where he's at today. So I give Anderson Silva the win. Second round TKO.
Yeah, I have it second. I don't know if it's TK or KO or whatever. We'll see. Because I don't know, for some reason I can see him ending this in this complete devastating fashion. But the build, there's no really build up here because I do praise Wyoming as being very respectful. But I don't know if you heard about this. Vitor wants to face the winner, and I couldn't blame you. I would love to see Vitor face Anderson.
I would too. I know a lot of people go, oh well, Vitor, TRT and all that shit. Yeah, fuck off. Dan Henderson does fucking TRT, so shut the fuck up before you go on.
I love your hatred for Dan Henderson and Frank Jackson.
No, I just hate Dan Henderson. I just hate the Dan Henderson fans that fucking support this dumbass, like, and hate on people that use TRT when he's the fucking idiot using TRT. That's why I was hoping Rashad could beat his dumbass, because I'm sick and tired of these TRT abusers. Like, Dan, you're 40 years old. Stop using TRT, you dumb shit. Like, it's like Vitor is not using TRT. Like, he probably is using TRT, and a bunch of guys do in the sport. Like, okay, yeah, GSP looked so great in his last fight. You don't think he may have used a little bit of, TRT? You don't think there may have been some needle being sticked up there? I mean, GSP always says he's clean, so he's the golden boy. But even then, I just think to myself, did the TRT spin kick Luke Rockhold in the head, or was that Vitor Belfort's skill? Does the TRT teach you how to spin kick, or does your trainer and your coach? I'm pretty sure if I took TRT, I can do a spin kick like Vitor Belfort. So I think he deserves it. He deserves a shot at the middleweight championship. He beat the only other middleweight champion in a major promotion. He beat the Strikeforce middleweight champion. Right now, in my mind, Vitor is the Strikeforce middleweight champion, and you should unify the belts against Anderson Silva.
Because I don't know, there's really nobody else to give it to, and I think Anderson should take more fights. Like, I know Anderson wants to do the super fight next. Who knows when will that happen? But I think Anderson really just had a long layoff, and they got to get more fights out of him because he's 38. So at this point, you got to try to get more fights out of him.
Yeah, because Silva, we all know what this is a setup for. Madison Square Garden, Silva versus Jones.
Oh, we're hoping for that. Still the fucking culinary unionism. It's bad because Connecticut legalized MMA, I think, a month ago.
Yeah.
So New York's the only state left, and okay. It sucks. At this point,
if I was anyone, and I really hope, if I was any athlete that went to Madison Square Garden, like, do you think in New York, if Carmelo Anthony or someone on a grand structure, or maybe like a LeBron or any other athlete that plays sports, or someone like a Joe Namath, or just someone that is on a huge level of sports, said, "Hey, bring UFC to MSG," do you think that like they would change their mind if other athletes support MMA? Because to me, it just feels like not many athletes support MMA. Like, because the only time I really see like any athletes tweet about MMA is if Anderson Silva's fighting or if John Jones is fighting.
Really, you think so? Because there's usually a decent amount of there's a big fight. There's usually a decent amount.
Well, Larry Fitzgerald and Maurice Jones-Drew, when he's not in jail, are the only two that I've seen that were that tweet. Like, Larry Fitzgerald's a huge fan. He gives his predictions to Dana White. He tweets Dana White. He loves the sport. And there is Shaq's a huge fan. But do you think like someone told him, "Bring it to you, New York. You won't regret this"? Because this could be one of Madison Square Garden's greatest moments. This would be one of the greatest moments in Madison Square Garden history, Silva versus Jones. Because otherwise, Dallas is going to get that fucking show. They're going to get that show. Jerry Jones has been wanting a fucking UFC in his new stadium because he knows that's a shit ton of money coming his way.
Yeah, and I bet they're so upset they couldn't do Brock versus Fedor, so that would have been a huge fight. But hey, Jones Silva, that's like the biggest draw thing you could have at this point. And I also went to Philadelphia, speaking of like big fights or everything, and you came up in my head. I was like, they are kind of rushing the trilogy between Kane and JD.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like Kane and JDS, don't get me wrong, it's good for their careers that they will have a trilogy under their belt. But it's just like there's no one else in that division, so they're kind of just forced to fight each other, you know?
The hope is for the future is that John Jones goes to heavyweight and he becomes, a force to be reckoned with in there. You know what I mean? Maybe John Jones will be the guy to separate. I just wish, and then I blame a lot of Daniel Cormier on this. Like, I just wish Cormier could just stay at heavyweight, wait for Jones to come up to heavyweight, and just make that division really stacked, man. Like, I think the heavyweight division has a lot of talent. There's really only 2 elite fighters.
Yeah, the thing is, like, a lot of people don't understand this. The sport of boxing was built around heavyweights. The reason why MMA never really became big was because a lot of people go, oh, I wish UFC was back in the old days where, like, the smaller guys could fight the bigger guys. Well, people like organized things. Like, when you go to a friend's house, do you want to hang out in his room that is fucking messy as shit? Or do you want to hang out in his nice, clean living room? I'm pretty sure you want to hang out in the nice, clean living room. That's how the viewing public is. They don't want to watch a show, a fighting event, an organized sporting event, and it's messy as hell. Like, would you want to watch an event of the NFL if they put this on where the offensive linemen play quarterback and then Tom Brady's blocking for his offensive lineman? Would you want to see Nate Soldier go back and Tom Brady's playing left tackle? No, you wouldn't. That would make no sense. It's like, that's the problem. And the thing is, the sport of boxing was built off of heavyweights like Ali and Frazier. And the thing was, what was MMA being built off of? They didn't have a heavyweight division. The most bought pay-per-views, if you look at their pay-per-view history, the most bought pay-per-views are all pay-per-views featuring heavyweight fights. America loves heavyweights. The world loves heavyweights. Heavyweights are huge draws in sports because they are big, intimidating guys. Like, guys that fight at 155, yeah, I give them props. I love the 155ers, no doubt. But they're not, like, huge. They're not big. They just look really fit and trim, and a bunch of skinny guys could say, oh, I could probably do that. But with these big old heavyweights, not everyone is that big. Not everyone's a huge, huge athlete. So it's like when you see these big guys like Brock Lesnar and Shane Carwin fight to each other, it's like, oh shit, fists are going to fly. There's going to be a huge ass collision. And because most people in the world are not that big. And they need more heavyweights. Heavyweight division does need to be restacked. I agree. Because the heavyweight division, because Brock Lesnar, he's one of the top draws in UFC history. Why? Not because he was a light heavyweight, because he was a heavyweight fighter and he was big as fuck. Yeah, maybe it's the wrestling. Maybe the wrestling career did help. Maybe WWE fans helped out a little bit too. But it's because he's a huge fucking dude. He's a huge motherfucker. Brock Lesnar draws because he's a heavyweight. Heavyweights draw money, and I agree. They need to restack that heavyweight division and make it work. Because, like, Kane and JDS, they pull good pay-per-view buys, and it's because mainly it's for the heavyweight championship. When you think of, like, sports in general, you think of, like, the best of the best. When you talk to casual MMA fans, they may think the heavyweight championship is the best belt in all of UFC.
Definitely, man. Yeah, and another thing with the heavyweights, though, it's like, it's always an appeal. Like, I think what they did at 146 was the all heavyweight card. That, I think that went over huge for people. I was like, because look at the results. It was like knockout, knockout, knockout. I think as much as people like submissions, knockouts are always going to be the most popular thing.
Yeah, because knockouts for any casual fan. Like, this is what I always said. Mike Tyson, the reason why millions of people bought his pay-per-views, the reason being is because you didn't give a shit. You didn't give a shit if it went 12 seconds. It was a great 12 seconds because you just saw Mike Tyson beat the shit out of someone. And then today in boxing with Floyd Mayweather, he doesn't really knock people out. But the thing about Mayweather is he's so unique in the ring. He's just so unique in the ring. And that's why Silva and Jones are so much, why people buy their pay-per-views, is because they're like the Mayweathers. They're like the Mayweathers of the world. They're like, people will buy those pay-per-views because they're so fun to watch. They're unique in the cage. With heavyweights, though, that's when you get the success because, or even light heavyweights to argue. You get the success because these guys just kill each other, knock each other out. That's why people get disappointed sometimes in a fight. Like, I think one of the most disappointing fights of all time is Rashad versus Rampage because you see this fucking video package that they're doing. You think it's one of the greatest fights of all time, and none of these guys get knocked out. Rashad just grinds on Rampage, and people feel disappointed. And that's the thing with heavyweights. You don't feel disappointed because you're guaranteed a good show. Like, I hated the fucking morons that, like, hated on JDS Kane 1. Shut the fuck up, man. That was awesome. JDS came in there and went, well, pow, right to Kane's noggin. That was fucking awesome. What a great way to get people excited. Like, all the fucking...
That was good stoppage, too.
Huh?
I thought it was a good stoppage.
Yeah,
Can't finish.
I agree. Like, enough with you idiots that said UFC on Fox 1 sucked. Okay, UFC on Fox 1 did suck, but don't hate the Kane and JDS fight.
I know it's like, you know what the thing with UFC on Fox One, you know what I thought hurt it was Brock being an analyst. Like we both like Brock, but at the same time, I thought he was pretty horrible as an analyst. Like he just kept saying, "I'm gonna go beyond over and I'm gonna win the world title." That's all he kept saying. But there wasn't much analyst for Brock.
Yeah, like
I bring Brock in because he's popular, but I didn't think it was a good idea.
Like, Kurt Menefee always does a great job. You watch the Fox morning ones, right, for the football. I always think Kurt Menefee does a great job. He did good for not even knowing the fucking sport. Like, yeah, I bet you this was like the meeting for Fox. Like, hey, Kurt, yeah, what's going on? You need to do a UFC event. UFC? What's that? Oh, it's a new thing we're bringing. Oh, okay. What do I do for it? Just do what you normally do for the NFL. Oh, okay. And I thought he did a great job for not even knowing enough about the sport, because Jay Glazer, we all know that this guy's like a fucking huge fan, so I'm pretty sure Jay Glazer helped him out a little bit, but Kurt Menefee, like, you would think he would do terrible, but he did a good job. He was just like, I think he does a great job every time they go on Fox. I'm like, good job, Kurt Menefee. I like you. I always have respect for Kurt Menefee.
Although it's funny, the first the first time he did, Randy Couture was on it, and now he's so hated by Dana White. Now I think it's Stan and Sonnen. So
Stan Sonnen and Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, like honestly, like I like most of the panels. Like I'm very harsh about Sonnen, but I'll admit he's pretty good at. Like I enjoy him as an analyst. Does any guy I don't really like is Dominic Cruz. I just think one, his voice, and it's like not commanding. And two, it's like sometimes he comes off as a fanboy. Other times he comes off as too negative. Like I remember, it's funny. They were showing behind the scenes clips of the Nick Diaz Paul Daly fight, and you just see when Diaz finished up there, you see Cruz just running around, jumping up and down, like the biggest fanboy ever. Which is cool, whatever. I'm not trying to be so harsh, but just like, how can I take this guy like an analyst?
Yeah, you can't really take him like an analyst because his voice is like, yeah, well, I think the fight was pretty good. It was a really good showing, but you forget I'm the real bantamweight champion. It's like, what?
You haven't fought in almost 2 years.
You know who does a good job as an analyst? Kenny Florian. I think he does a good job too, and same with Frank Mir.
Yeah, he's growing on me.
Florian, Mir, Stan, like don't.
I like Bisping a lot. I know a lot of people don't like him, man. I think Bisping does a good job.
People don't like him because they can't understand what he's saying. Oh, well, the fight right down. It's like, oh, dude, what are you saying? Like,
I like guys like honestly. You want guys obviously, are impartial and they're gonna break down fights, but I really like analysts that are outspoken. That's why I like Bisping a lot. That's why I like Mir a lot. The guys, they don't hold anything back. They're gonna tell you what they see. They're gonna say, "Oh, this guy doesn't look like in shape. Oh, this guy looks slow."
Yeah, I do like that. The UFC tonight. I feel like they need to get off Field TV with that UFC Tonight show, because like Field TV is like such a shitty channel. Like they need to bring that on when they get to the Fox Sports channel that's coming out soon.
Yeah, they're gonna do it there because they moved the Ultimate Fighter over there.
Yeah, so hopefully they move stuff onto the Fox Sports channel, because like that Field TV shit, like I do want to watch it and stuff like that, but it's just like it's on Field fucking TV. Like, are you kidding me? Like I have to go like to the 600s, and then all of a sudden, like as I'm on my TV guide going to 600s, I'll see like something cool. Like I'll be like, what? College football classics? Holy shit! Or like an NFL classic game, or like it's right by ESPN Classics. That's the worst part. It's right by ESPN Classics. I'm sorry, I'll watch the Harlem Globetrotters before I watch UFC Tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, on the Field TV, I don't know if you don't have Field TV, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, like on the Field TV, they show pay-per-views on there. They show like pay-per-views that recently just happened. Like I watched Aldo versus Edgar again on the Field TV, and I'm like, this is what you should be showing on Fox Sports, or this is something that you should be asking Fox. Hey, can we put this on your show? I mean, what does Fox have to show besides fucking American Idol? Like, they don't have fucking anything else. I'm dead serious. What else do they have? They have fucking nothing. Like the only like Fox, CBS, ABC, and like what's the other one? NBC.
NBC.
Yeah. Okay. Fox has fucking nothing. NBC has some good shit. CBS is the most watched network out of all those fucking networks, because they have a bunch of like How I Met Your Mother, all those other shows. 2.5 Men I think is still a draw. Big Bang Theory, like they have all those shows. and then like ABC has just the NBA Finals really, and maybe some interesting. Don't they have Modern Family? They have Modern Family. I think.
Yeah. Remember when CBS showed Strike Force events?
Yeah, they show because it was Showtime because CBS and Showtime are part of the same sisters and stuff
What's
like that.
hilarious though? I'll never forget is when Jake Shields is gonna fight Dan Henderson. All they're promoting is Dan Henderson comes to Strike Force, and they don't even promote Shields as the champion.
Yeah, no, they're like Dan Henderson making his way, and they're like an all champion battle. Dan Henderson goes for the welterweight title, and it's like, oh wow, really? Dan Henderson? Oh, okay, I'm watching. The worst part about that too was that card on the West Coast, at least on the West Coast, it didn't show until 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It didn't show at 6. So you have to actually stay up for that shit. That was the worst part for us West Coasters because we get spoiled a lot. Yeah, I know. Monday Night Football at 5:30, suck it, people. But it just even then, it's like, come on, really? Like I have to stay from 9 o'clock just to watch Jake Shields dry hump Dan Henderson? Like really?
Yeah, another thing was like people would complain about, in terms of what strikers would do. Like, how King Mo would have the crazy entrances. I heard like CBS didn't even air it when he fought Musasi.
No, no.
What's wrong with you guys?
No, like this is literally what happened. King Mo's music hit, and then all of a sudden you're a CBS production person going, "What was that?" And then later on it just goes to the rare commercial like, "This Tuesday we have not Modern Family, like Big Bang Theory," and I'm like, "What the frick was that?" And then afterwards they're like, and then like Morello's all like, "Oh, we got a big fight, King Mo versus Gengar Musasi for the light heavyweight championship," and then they just went to like Musasi was entering, and they just showed highlights, and it was like awkward because Morel was just like trying to think about what to say during these highlights because he was like, and there you see him do this, oh, and it was like, what the hell is this? Like it looked really bad. Didn't they also do the Fedor? They got the first Fedor fight on CBS too.
That's a good question.
Wait, what was Fedor's first fight in Strikeforce? What was it again? I can't even remember. Was it
Fedor's first fight in Strikeforce?
Was it Verdum? It had to not be Verdum. Brett the Grim Rogers. Oh, the tire flipper.
Yeah.
That's all I remember for that. He flipped tires.
Danny lost to Verdum.
Yeah, Danny lost to Verdum. Yeah, because I remember they're like Rogers versus Fedor, and I'm like, oh, exciting. I forgot.
I swear, bro. Oh, that was the same card as Shields versus Mayhem.
Yeah, because that was on CBS. Because I remember I had some friends over to watch it. Because I said, hey, are you guys not going to prom? I think it was on my prom night too. And I was like, hey, are you guys going to prom? They're like, no, I couldn't find a date. And I'm like, hey, just come on over. It was like a junior year, and it was like because juniors can go to prom, juniors and seniors. So I said, fuck that shit. I'm just gonna watch this UFC fight. I can't find a date right now. It's too late.
Yeah, because I was talking to a few guys about this. Like, I kind of miss Strike Force some way. Like, it was a cool other promotion. Like, I'm happy what Bellator is doing, and good for them. But they just don't have enough big names right now. Like, Strike Force really has some huge names while it was still running.
And what I liked about Strike Force was it was because it was on Showtime and stuff like that. They didn't have a bunch of like adverts and like with Bellator they're on Spike TV and we all know Spike TV. It's just one of those fucking shitty ass channels that cut to commercials randomly and have like fucking long ass commercials. Like pretty much like Spike TV's commercials are like 15 minutes long. It's a fucking joke. But with Showtime, like with the Strikeforce cards, you can sit down and they'll say it might go 3 hours, but it'll be like the fun hour and a half that you had. And I just loved how there was like not long breaks in between fights because it was just like, oh yeah, this is the upcoming events on Showtime. Oh yeah, UFC's coming up soon. All right, back to the fights. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I like. Just do that. Like the UFC doesn't need to show me fucking 8 commercials of the same fucking pay-per-view. I'm going to watch the pay-per-view regardless. You don't need to hype up like, oh god, like I'm getting flashbacks of GSP versus Jake Shields video. That was like the best well done video with the worst fight ever.
It's just looking back on it, it's so great. Like just talking to other people about it. It's Jake Shields, such a big time. He was a big deal in Strikeforce. He was one of the main guys, and comes to the UFC, and yeah, he fought GSP in one of the craziest arenas of all time. But he's just really fallen off.
I always say that it's because he's in the welterweight division and not in the middleweight division.
Well, why do you think he's not fighting the middleweight division?
Um, Nick, like I don't know, I think like that he just honestly the UFC wanted to promote him to fight GSP and not Anderson Silva. Because at the time when Jake Shields came into the UFC, you forget Silva Sonnen. No one wanted to see anything else. It was Silva Sonnen mindset. Jake
Well,
Shields come in as
he was
GSP.
on the same card as Lesnar Velasquez when he debuted.
No, but when he debuted, they wanted him as a welterweight because Silva Sonnen was coming
Yeah.
up. Silva Sonnen was coming up, and they didn't expect Sonnen and Silva to be like this huge fucking deal. They didn't expect it. Like that was like one of the greatest surprises for the UFC, and so they were thinking like he even said he wanted to go to the middleweight because he didn't want to fight Nick. He didn't want to fight Nick. He wanted to go to the middleweight. Gilbert was gonna run shit at the lightweight, and Nate Diaz was gonna smoke a bond. So that was their plan. That was the old Team Gracie's plan. I think I remember they had a blueprint about it with stick figures.
It's funny. And also at the time, I think Vitor promised the title shot too. So that's why I think Jake's like, screw it, I'll go to 170.
Yeah, screw it. I win one fight against Martin Catman and I get a title shot. Yeah, I'm gonna like I said, if you get a shot, like if you come into the UFC, I don't care how bad you are. If you just get a shot at a title and Dana tells you you just have to do this, take that shot because like you might end up like Bisping and all these other guys that are just in limbo of the UFC that like are on their way to the title shot, but then afterwards they just fall off. And really, to be honest, Jake Shields, that's what happened. You just had a title shot and he fell off at the last minute, and it sucks for Jake Shields. And I hope Weidman, if he does lose to Silva, do you think Weidman's going to lose to Silva?
Yeah.
You don't think Matt Serra gave him some secret youth water, or gave him like some like?
Matt Serra is probably one of the most entertaining fighters of all time. Like honestly, I don't know if I could have a serious conversation with Matt Serra.
I do like Matt. I do like Matt Serra's interviews. They're pretty fucking funny. He is an entertaining guy. So like, there's no chance that Weidman will he take some sacred water.
It would take a lot of grinding, as Don right, but it would take a lot, takedowns. And the one thing I will say, which will really help him, is I think he won't get caught in a submission. I think Weidman's too wise for that.
Do you think Silva will tool with him at all during this fight? Do you think we're gonna get the fun? Because I do like when Silva does the shuffling and stuff like that, where he or like what he did with Bonner, where he's like, relax, I'm just having fun. Like I do like that. Do you think we're gonna see that with Silva? Do we think we're gonna see Silva, do some show? Like, is he gonna put on a little fun for us?
Maybe if Weidman's really cut, like. No, he's definitely not going to get stuff. But like maybe if he's cut and he's not moving very well, but I don't know. I expect a very focused Silva just because some people are really not against him. Like I think somebody's telling him, like, look, people are starting to think
Okay, do you think they paid Rashad Evans to say that line about Chris Weidman? Because Rashad's like always up on Silva's dick. Like he like Rashad is like Anderson Silva fan number one. Like do you think they paid Rashad to say that about Weidman?
Well, don't forget, Rashad's a wrestler in his own right. Like,
yeah, that's true.
When guys like I remember, when Cormier picked Weidman, like, oh, I'm not surprised. Wrestlers are going to favor wrestlers. Johnny Hendricks also picked Weidman. It's like.
Okay, because I understand Johnny Hendricks. I understand Johnny Hendricks picking Weidman because it's the same thing with him and GSP. He's the underdog. He's going against one of the greatest fighters of all time, and I understand Hendricks because Hendricks is kind of a funny little dude. He's like a little garden gnome. But I just feel like maybe the UFC is like telling these guys, hey, you got to promote this fucking fight because this is like the same thing with the Mayweather and De La Hoya. When a lot of people were choosing, like, because De La Hoya was the favorite going into that fight. A lot of people don't know that. But a lot of the other boxers were starting to tweet. Like, I remember Arturo Gotti was tweeting, oh, Mayweather's going to dominate De La Hoya for 12 full rounds. And I was like, why are everyone tweeting, like, or, like, they're just saying that Mayweather's going to kill De La Hoya and all that stuff. And also, like, Ricky Hatton, they said the same thing with Hatton. Like, everyone's like, oh, Ricky Hatton's going to beat Mayweather. So, in all honesty, it's just like, I feel like the UFC may be like giving some money on the side just to hype up this fight because it is a big card. It's 4th of July. Families are going to be in town. Barbecues are going to be out. Some fireworks are going to be left over. You need to put on a good show. You need people to say, hey, let's order this event. I mean, because like right now, you know, boxing is kind of on a downslope. Canelo Alvarez versus Mayweather is the only thing going for it right now, so they don't have anything going. This is like the UFC's territory. It's like, okay, we got to replace boxing as that one event. Because I always said the UFC, it's a great company. It's a great company. MMA is a great sport. But the thing is, they're still lacking. They're still lacking the whole family atmosphere type of deal. You know what I'm saying? Like how boxing, you would have people come over and, you know, with the family and all that stuff. I always feel UFC's kind of lacking still in that family atmosphere. And if they get that family atmosphere where a lot of people bring their families over to watch it, because like my family, we're like rednecks, so we watch fucking anything. But like not every family is like a redneck fan. We're not a redneck fan. Like not every family is a redneck family. So it's just like, you know, if you bring like a little girl cousin, do you think it's like influential to like show her a UFC event where people are like killing each other? Because like boxing, they have like legit huge gloves. It didn't look like they were getting the shit beat out of them most of the time. And most of the time, it was Mike Tyson fights. Like that's the thing. They really need to get that family thing because like UFC is evolving really well for how long it's been out. Like a lot of people don't understand this company's been around since like '96, and its time span of how long this company has been in and how successful they've been in. Shit, man, they deserve a round of applause, but they need to also expand more than just like, you know, being like a bar type of thing or a dude type of thing. Like you need to bring girls along to get interested in this, and that's why I like that they brought the women's division because it's like finally girls can come over to your house and say, oh, I want to see this woman fight because it's interesting. And that's another disappointment. There should be a fucking women's fight on this card. Do you agree?
Uh, since it's such a, it's 4th of July weekend, it's a huge trend. Yeah, it should be, but I think right now they need to get more women in the division. Right now it's kind of limited. I'm really interested to see what the buy rate's going to be for Tate Rousey, just in general. That's supposed to be in
That's
December.
going to be a huge buy rate. That's going to
I'm
be
expecting
huge.
it to be pretty huge, yeah.
So that's the ultimate card of the year. The Tate Rousey, is that going to be the main event or is there another fight?
Yeah.
It's
No,
gonna...
dude, whenever you see Ronda Rousey, as long as she has that title, she's
Yeah, Dana White will give her the main event. I feel bad for Zagano. So Zagano. So what happened was Zagano got injured. Did she get injured on the set of Ultimate Fighter like Faber did?
She hurt,
Like Cruz did?
I think it's training.
In training, okay.
It's
So
been a freak injury, but yeah, that really sucks for her.
so she got injured before the show, and then pretty much they just and she. How long was she supposed to be out for? Because I heard she was only out for like a month.
No, it's
No.
6 to 8 months.
Oh, okay. Because like what I heard, like from what I heard originally, like she was only going to be out till like October or something like that. And
They
then
would have kept her in then, man.
yeah, that's what I heard. So okay, that thanks for clarifying that because I was going to be like, okay, Dana, Tate lost a fight, but you found a loophole in this. You're happy now, like because like this is the world of professional sports. You have to sometimes, especially for fighting and stuff, you always have to throw some crapshoots in there. And really, to be honest, it's like I was just like, oh come on, Dana, are you really gonna be this? But like at first, I thought it was just gonna be Tate and Rousey on the Ultimate Fighter. Wait, when's that air? Do you know when that airs? Because I'm really interested.
Sometime in, I think early September.
Because I heard like Dana like already saying like this is worse than Ortiz and Ken Shamrock, and
Yeah, I heard that too.
I have the season of Ortiz and Shamrock, and I love watching it just to see Ortiz and Shamrock say like shit to each other and stuff like that. I hope.
My favorite was Mayhem Bisbee, but I'm a Mayhem fanboy, so that doesn't. That I guess that
Did you watch?
Flawed there.
Did you watch? What was the one my football coach was on? My football and wrestling coach was on the season. His name is Joseph Henley. He was on the season. I can't remember which one he was on.
Shit. What year?
I can't remember, but I remember there was this. He got one he lost his one fight. He lost the fight in his house, and the one major scene that he has throughout that whole season is that he got pissed off because he didn't step up and ask for a fight, and he's like, "Fuck, that could have been my second chance. Damn it, damn it!" Like that's like his major scene that he's like pissed. Oh got it. I remember because I watched that whole season just to see him and stuff like that. So I'm trying to remember who it was.
I forgot about Rashad Rampage. That was probably the best one ever too.
Oh, the heavyweights one with Kimbo Slice.
Yeah, well, that was just entertaining because Rashad Rampage.
Okay, when you're done with this, and if you have some free time, type in promotion of a company, and it's this one guy called not like a narwhal or something like that, and he made this funny clip of how Dana White is so hypocritical about Kimbo Slice, and one of the clips is where Dana White says like, yeah, we're not gonna like shove Kimbo down your throats and make you feel like the Ultimate Fighter is all about him. And then later on, he clips all the recaps of the Ultimate Fighter, like next time on the Ultimate Fighter, Kimbo slice fights Roy Nelson. Oh, this guy got injured on the Ultimate Fighter. Does that mean Kimbo is back in the mix? Kimbo is upset. Is he gonna fight this week? It's like, it's the funniest video. It's very funny. Just try to find that video. It's hilarious. I suggest if you're an MMA fan, you look for this video. But Alan, do you want to say anything to the people enjoying Fourth of July? Do you want to say anything about the MMA world in general? What's your final thoughts?
I think that this is gonna be better than expected. I know there's no heavyweights on card. I don't think there's any light heavyweights on card, so it's kind of a smaller card. But I think these fights are gonna be exciting. I think especially the first card are gonna be competitive. I know you're not high on Munoz, and Tim Boetsch is kind of made kind of a gatekeeper at this point. But I think that fight, both guys are gonna be heavily motivated because they're coming off pretty one-sided defeats. So I think it's gonna be a lot better than 140. I don't know, for some reason I left 140 despite Silva knocking out Chael. I felt very disappointed with 148. I just felt it was like a lackluster card, you know. So
148 was one of their most successful built-up cards. Like with the high, the problem with 148 was all the injuries that fucking happened to it. If we would have had Cruz versus Faber on there, and if we would have had Franklin versus, who was he supposed to fight? He was supposed to fight Hector Lombard, right, on that card?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
he was supposed to fight Lombard, and we were going to get Tito versus Forrest anyways. If you would have kept that card, holy fucking shit. First of all, Lombard wouldn't be a snowball that's going down. He would have came into the UFC fucking legit. Forrest and Tito still would have been two elephants hitting each other. And
yeah, just some fights are just bad. Like I think the first fight was like Ivan Memjor versus Mike Easton. Oh. And then Chad, I like Chad Mendes, don't get me wrong, but Cody McKenzie on the main card, are you kidding me? Get out of here.
Yeah, and Chad Mendes like made him like look like a tool and like under.
Dude, you hit him with a liver kick. You hit him with a body kick, and Cody just went down.
Yeah, like, and then Faber versus Cruz, like Faber versus Cruz would have been like that technical little featherweight fight where you just see these guys bouncing around, and you're like, what the fuck are they doing? Who cares? It's a fight, that type of deal. Like if they would like. I hate that summer so much for the UFC. I feel bad for the UFC. If UFC could take one summer back, I think they would take that one summer back.
Yeah, because you had Shogun main event against Brandon Vera, which was a fun fight, but come on
Yeah,
now.
it was fun watching that live. I remember starting a Vera chant. That was fun.
Starting a Vera chant?
Yeah, I was like, fuck, man, he's hanging in there, Vera, Vera. People were chanting that with me. Crazy fucking shit.
I think though this summer though, I think there's a lot of good fights headed. Just let's hope the injury bug doesn't strike anymore. Right, it hurt Pettis and Aldo, but I'm really looking forward to Benson versus TJ Grant. I think it's gonna be a very exciting fight. It's gonna be cool to see somebody really up and coming in the lightweight division that not many people really know about still. TJ Grant's kind of still a mystery. And you have the return of Josh Barnett, which is going to be awesome.
Yep, Josh Barnett's coming back. I remember you wrote the article, like, Josh Barnett should come back. I'm like, yeah, what is he doing? He's not doing anything. Bring him back, UFC. He's still a good fighter. It's not like he sucks.
Yeah, it was funny. I was Tuesday night. I had everything prepared about Josh Barnett should come back. And they're like, oh, no, Josh Barnett just signed a contract. I'm like, time to go change this up.
Yeah, I gotta rewrite.
Another good fight might happen is I don't know what you think about Travis Brown.
I like him, Travis Brownie. Okay. I call him Travis Brownie because he has the E at the end. So who's he fighting?
Oh, he's fighting Overeem.
Ooh, that's a good fight. Awesome. I like that. Travis Brownie versus Overeem. Ooh.
I think there's a lot of good exciting fights. I think the one card that's really bad, if you look at 163, like I know Zombie versus is gonna be fun, but I really have no interest in seeing Maya versus Koscheck or Phil Davis versus Lyoto Machida.
Maya versus Koscheck, loser gets cut from the UFC.
Well, hey, Maya's on a pretty nice streak, man. I think. Wait, what'd you say? Sorry.
If Koscheck loses, he gets cut from the UFC.
I thought you said I think it's a loser. Maya's on a pretty nice streak.
He is. I said Maya, if he works his striking, he could probably stand a chance against GSP.
Yeah, I know he's boring as hell, but He outfitched Fitch, man. That was pretty incredible.
Yeah, when you outfitch the man that created the pillow sleep, you know you're doing something right in this company. Like, he's the new John Fitch probably. He'll probably be like, I want my title shot. Give me it, please. Like that
Yo,
was
I gotta talk to you off the air about science. So you want to wrap this up?
yeah. So for you guys doing 4th of July, like I said in my Q&A video, stay safe. Don't do anything stupid.
That's clear.
Just stay safe, have fun, light some fireworks. If you're gonna hang out with some friends and stuff like that, make sure you guys don't do anything stupid. Don't get into
Don't get arrested.
don't get arrested. Don't get into a vehicle while you're drunk. It's not a smart idea whatsoever. Just stay safe. Enjoy your MMA. Enjoy whatever you enjoy on your 4th of July. Just have some fun. Don't try to make this like it's 4th of July. You guys gone if you're my age and Alan's age, we've been through 20 years of this shit. So it's just fireworks and beer. That's all it is. Just drink a couple beers, enjoy your time. Don't try to be that shit-wasted loser at a party. That's all I gotta say to you guys.
That's your morality lesson, people.
Hopefully you enjoyed the preview and some MMA discussion with me and Alan. I'll also post our predictions down in the description box just for anyone who just wants a quick, just a little quick like who we think's gonna win. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So hope you guys enjoy UFC 161. We'll definitely 162. Oh god, don't enjoy 161. 162 you should enjoy. We'll be back next time. We'll be talking about the always exciting Demetrius Johnson versus his toughest test and what's his name? John Morga, is it? Is it John Morga?
I know you just said it's his toughest test. You don't know the guy's name.
No, it's his toughest test, but I forgot his first name. I know it's Morga. Right. John Morga.
I'm really excited for Roy McDonald, Shake Ellenberg on that card personally.
Yeah, and we got the UFC Brazilian card, Zombie versus Aldo, so that should be fun. And do you think we're gonna get to Shogun versus Sana next time we talk, or do you think that's more we're gonna preview that?
I think we're going to preview the Fox one and the Brazil one because those are back-to-back weeks. The Boston one's not till August 17th.
Okay, yeah, and wow, the
I don't want to preview 3 UFCs. We could do 2.
Yeah, Shogun and Sonnen seems like a pretty damn good one. So yeah, and then Condit versus Catman 2. Oh wow. But anyways,
Dude, this summer's gonna be crazy a fight. Just people gotta stay healthy, damn it.
Yeah, I just saw the card for the. And also,
finally, it's going to get someone that's not arrested. Thank God.
Exactly. All right. Hope you guys enjoy your 4th of July weekend. Stay safe and don't drive drunk. Peace.
Right. Chase, guys, that quickly bring us up to because I want to hear your opinions. What do you think about this?